All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another WineShark Wednesday. It is I, your host, the WineShark. Hope we are doing well out there in our wine world, each and respectively. Welcome to the other side of daylight savings time. Back to trying to figure out lighting in the studio and the fact that the show is after dark now. But anyway, I hope everybody is having a wonderful week. I hope you guys got your voting done. All the results that came through. Good for you if you did. Bad for you if you didn't. Also, we're hope you guys are adjusting now to the earlier evenings. It's always something that makes it actually feel like fall, in my opinion. So while I'm not particularly a fan of the overall concept of changing the clock around a lot, I certainly like the fact that when it gets dark earlier, I think it makes it feel more, more nesting, more cozy. So in fact, we're going to be talking today about wine's fall flavors. I've been doing menu planning, and I've got shows coming up where fall food and wine dinners are being featured. So I've had my head in flavor pairings and profiles. I've done talks before on fall flavors in general, and we've talked just about some of the stuff that happens around harvest. But one of the things I realized I hadn't really done is I haven't really talked about what flavors in wine are we talking about. What are the compounds slash things to look for, and wine varietals in particular, or styles to look for that tend to be more fall friendly. So let's kind of kick it off with that, and we're going to talk about Campo Viejo on the grocery store grab, and then we're gonna do a little wine quiz, the whole deal. But let's talk about fall flavors and kind of rewind that concept in the first place. When we say that, what is it that we're talking about? I've said before, harvest time tends to bring a lot of the end of summer flavors for long ripening agricultural items as they come to market. Things like apples and pumpkins and squash and sweet potatoes and you're bringing in, we're getting animals ready for slaughter over the winter. So things like pork and chicken flavors are oftentimes, slow cooking our food recipes when it comes to actually consuming stuff. A lot of this stuff adds up to what I would call what we would assume in Western cooking as these flavors of fall. Turkey for the holiday dinners, for instance, roast beef if you're although different cultural experiences have very different menus for their particular holiday celebrations. Many of the celebrations that are in the northern hemisphere that are around basically storing up for the winter is all about that bounty of harvest, taking it in, getting the last of the stuff that's going to be fresh, and then preserving whatever you can over the winter. So that's kind of the framework that I'm kind of coming at when we talk about this. I often say cooler weather and warmer flavors is kind of the shorthand cut for what we talk about when we talk about fall. But that also kind of triggered me to think about what is the idea when we talk about warm flavors. I asked this question a lot during events, but it's something we haven't really talked about on the show. What does warm flavor mean to you? Even when we talk about this in the design world, we talk about, say, warm versus cool colors, right? Cool colors, things like, greens and blues, warm colors being things like reds, yellows, oranges, right? Brown tones, these are warm colors. The same thing kind of applies to our aromas and our palates. We talk about wine in four component structures. We usually talk about alcohol, tannin, acid, and sugar. These are the four big body points of how wine, with the compounds that represent what wine is and how that transmits flavor. We also talk about aromas and aroma compounds. And so we're going to talk about both of those things today. And then we're also going to talk about a little bit about fruit. And we're going to talk about what particular wines fit within these categories of each of these so you know kind of what to look for. So let's start with the basic four. Let's talk about just structurally speaking. We talk about, because this kind of directly dovetails into the warm process. In the wine profile, we have those four elements: tannins, alcohol, acid, sugar. When we talk about warm wines, or wines that taste warm, that are physically in that warmer taste profile, we are leaning away from things that I would describe as fresh or bright or acidic. We're taking acid down a tone. We're oftentimes, that means we're exchanging and we're looking for things like, where we'll talk about malolactic fermentation a little bit, but we don't want basically really bright high acid. High acid means a lot of total acidity or tartrate acidity and a low pH. We're looking for things that are a little higher on the pH scale. Alcohol, the physical warmth of alcohol definitely falls into that warm, comforting flavor feeling. It's kind of a soothing thing. Tannins are the other thing here. When, especially tannins, when they're well cushioned, can be very comforting because they're this gripping intensity, and they tend to frame up the flavor in our mouths of the styles of fruits that we're going to talk about in a little while. Okay, so generally speaking, alcohol is good. Sugar is kind of in the middle. Sugar, where we don't want wines necessarily that are sweet, are not. I wouldn't really put into the warmer category based on mostly stylistic choices, but there are a couple, especially when we talk about ports and sherries and Madeiras. But generally speaking, acid is the one that we're avoiding. The other three components, tannins, alcohol, and sugar, can be anywhere in the low to medium plus categories and still categorized as a warm flavor profile. But really, when we talk about flavor, aroma is probably more valuable and useful in this as a descriptor in this than the structural components of wine. Right? While we can feel alcohol, we don't particularly taste alcohol. While we can feel tannins, we don't generally taste tannins. The tastes I'm talking about are carried by the tannins. Right? They tend to help us highlight flavor, but that's not what actually drives the flavor. So this is really coming down to our aroma compounds. Now, referring to Wine Folly, they've got a great article out there on impact compounds. Aroma compounds in general is something we talk about a lot on the show, both from an analytical and in just a common language type way. So, but I'm going to cover three of these tonight that are, I would say, the most important in the warm/fall flavor area. Number one is rotendones. Okay, rotendones are the cracked pepper, earthy, peppery, cocoa powder kind of flavor profile. Okay, they tend to be intense and kind of rich, and those flavors, all the things that I described. Obviously, I'm using many food terminology to describe these. Those aromatic compounds we find to be very comforting and in that warmer, friendly scale. Okay, we're talking about wines here like Zinfandels, the Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre family, either blends or on their owns. Petit Verdot, Petit Syrah, big intense reds, generally speaking, are where you're going to get most of these aroma compounds, especially the stuff that we're going to see out there in the common wine world. So look for those examples when we're talking about the earthier side of things, the pepperier side of things. To go kind of on that, but in a different directions, there's also ones called Sauterlon. Sauterlons are this nutty, tobacco-y, maple, crunch, pecan nuts. These are flavors that are created during the oxidization of wine. So they tend to feature in one of two things: wines that have had a lot of oxidization due to age, but more readily accessible are oxidization-built wines, things like Madeira, ports, tawny port specifically, sherry. These are wines where oxidization is part of their construction process. So those flavors are what specifically is being sought and built into the wine. Okay, so if you really want to try to see something, this is a great example where, if you like tawny port, it's that dried, reducted fruit kind of thing, that nuttiness that it brings to it. Shiraz is a great example of this. Get your cream sherry out. Cream sherry is a secret weapon when it comes to cooking with mushrooms. This is a great example from your flavor profiles about how you really enhance those flavors of earthiness and fall flavors by getting your Sauterlons in there. Last is the diacetyl group. Okay, this is the butter and cream flavors. These come from malolactic fermentation. Now, butter and cream is normally how we would associate it with white wines that are malolactically fermented. The most common one here being Chardonnay. This is that buttery feeling that we get out of Western California style Chardonnays. However, malolactic fermentation is also applied to a lot of red wines, and to me, it doesn't really present as a butter sensation there. It is more of a velvety softness. It takes the acids that are normally present, it tunes the pH up because we're doing lactic acid instead of malic acid. So smoother acids rather than sharper acids. Remember we said how acid is not our friend in the wine world here? Well, acids are always going to be present, but it's how they present on our palate. Those lactic acids present as a very smooth, creamy feeling. So when a red wine has a malolactic done to it, and has either a partial or total malolactic, they get very velvety and soft and smooth. Okay, so this is a great example of where the wine's construction can lend even more to its end flavor profile for a fall-friendly food platform. So finally, let's talk about the fruits that go into those, because we talked about aromas, but now we also talk about, we often describe our fruits our wines in terms of fruit flavors. For instance, especially red wines, we talk about red, blue, and black fruits in their particular. In the white wine world, though, or actually in both worlds, what I want you to do is be thinking about fruits in three ways, right? We have four ways, actually. We always talk about fruit, and we think about fresh fruit, about cooked or stewed fruits, preserved fruits, or dried fruits. If you think about that scale, it's a great way to describe the different levels of kind of concentration or intensity of a particular fruit flavor. So the taste, for instance, of fresh pineapple is different than when it is grilled pineapple. It's different than when it is made into pineapple jam, and it is different when it is made into dried pineapples, say, that you're going to get in your snack mix. Okay, they're all kind of pineapple flavor, but there's different levels of intensity and concentration. The processes that you use there change the perceived flavor. And that same thing applies, I think, in our winemaking, right? We talk about wines that tend to be warmer because they have less acid. They tend to be more concentrated flavors. So rather than, say, a fresh peach, you're talking about a cooked peach. We're talking about cooked pineapple. These are specifically for the white wine world. Also, when we think about tropical fruit flavors, things that are non-citrus tropicals come to mind. Things like papaya or guava. Those are examples of those warmer kind of flavors. Melon, right? We think about honeydew, right, is a softer flavor. Or cantaloupe, actually, is the one I'm thinking of. Cantaloupe is a softer flavor than some of its more high-acid counterparts. Okay. In the red wine world, again, red, blue, and black fruits apply here, but thinking more about the concentrated cooked versions of these, or even preserved, like jellies and jams style. So cranberries, and cranberry is an example, right? Rather than thinking about fresh cranberries, it's more about that cranberry sauce, like we serve beside our turkeys. Grenadine, rather than pomegranate, right? Grenadine is a reduced and intensified version of pomegranate juice. Raspberries and the whole berry family. Raspberries, blackcurrant, blackberries, blueberries, boysenberries. All of these berry flavors, but not fresh off the vine, more the syrup thereof, or a jam thereof, or a pie thereof. Because that concentration of fruit takes things down a note, malolactic fermentation and diacetyls help blend that into your wine, and it gives it that warm, soft flavor. We get those baking spices in there, right? We talk about, nutmeg and allspice and cinnamon and clove, all of those, pie spices, as they are broadly called, right? Or French four-spice, which are a blend of ginger and white pepper and things like that. These are spices that have that warm feeling, and they can definitely go into those flavors that match into those fruits. So you kind of get a combination, a crossover of the two of them. Okay, so wines that hit on both these. For instance, on the white wine side here, wines like malolactically fermented Chardonnays, Western style and New World style Chardonnays, New World style Gewürztraminers. We talk about a little bit of Viognier in here maybe, but most of the white wine world, you're going to look for ones that are on the malolactic side. You can also go into the dessert wine world. This is where Sauternes and ice vines have concentrated flavors that can really lean into your fall. In the red wine world, here it's more, again, with the kind of the grapes that we talked about in the Rotondun category mostly fill this out. This is where we're talking about, Zinfandels, Petit Verdot, Grenache Noir, Mourvedre. New World style Cabs and Cabernet Franc and Merlot often have malolactic fermentations applied to them. Their Syrahs, for instance, from California, they have this soft berry edge to them rather than a big bright sensation. So those I would say New World styles that favor malolactic tend to be more in that fall fun flavor profile for me. But you can also get into a few examples in the Old World as well. A little bit more on the aged up style of Spanish wines, right? Which especially we're talking about the Tempranillo families. When it talks to in Italy, if we're working with Sangiovese that is a little bit older, right? Or Nebbiolo when we get that from the Barolo region. These are really delicate, complex, dried, floral, leathery, meaty flavors, savory flavors that are definitely fall friendly as well. So it's not just about New World malolactic. They do exist out there in the Old World as well, but it's less than the fresh, bright style that you might be used to when we talk about more acidic wines. So remember those warm flavors. Think about, avoiding your acids, lean into your tannins, lean into your alcohol, your aroma compounds. Think about your rotendones, soterones, and diacetyls. And when it comes to your fruit, don't think fresh. Think a little bit reduced. Think cooked, stewed, syrups, preserves, and dried fruits are going to be more friendly with a lot of the flavors that you're going to be comforted up, cooled up by the proverbial fireplace for your fall type flavors. Okay. All right. That being said, time for the wine quiz. So from our Wine Wars card deck here, we're going to play Stump the Chump with yours truly. Draw a card at random. See how well I know my wine knowledge and maybe share some fun little trivia tidbits for you. There are 5 categories in our list. We've got Vine to Vino, which is about getting the vine and turning it into wine. Graposphere, which is all about the grapes themselves, varieties, styles, and their geography, where they're made. Wine Cellar, which is the storage, service, and tasting of wine. Wine and Food, both cooking with it and serving it with food. And then Cork Culture, which is basically kind of a catch-all for wine people, wine business, the arts, sciences, etc. So, our first question. Oh, hello, Miss Donna. I didn't see your greetings down there earlier. I thought I was just talking to myself. So, all right. So the first category, right, Vine to Vino. True or false? Most European vines, Vitis vinifera, are grafted to Native American rootstock. True or false? Ooh, this is another one of those 100% questions that I wonder. But there are many tales of American rootstock being used to reinforce / save old world European vines rather. Why? Because New World vines are phylloxera resistant. The little bug that grows in the sandy soils, that doesn't like sandy soils, is a North American pest, and so it is often used. They often use New World wines rootstock to save Old World vines. The answer is true. It's true for its phylloxera resistant qualities. Look at me. All right. True or false? Chenin Blanc was once the most widely planted white grape in California. Ooh. This is going to be a guess on my part. I do not have any data. I wish this were true, because Chenin Blanc is probably my favorite white wine grape. But I don't know. I'm going to have to say false. I know that Chenin Blanc is present in California, but I've never heard of its dominance. That could just be a gap in my knowledge, though. And it says it's true. It says before Chardonnay became popular. So apparently, Chenin Blanc is the jewel that we threw away, and we replaced it with Chardonnay. And then we malolactic the hell out of it, and all was never right again. All right. Next question. So that's one true, one correct, one incorrect for me so far. Our next question. Which wine, red or white, is likely to have flavors and aromas of chocolate, tobacco, and spice? Hey, we just talked about the aroma compounds that give these. And notice I even mentioned that most of them are red wine style categories. That's right. It says red wine. Now, they don't give you the answer of why. You know, though, because you listen to the show, those are all about rotendones. All right. True or false? Man, there's a lot of true or false in this one. True or false? Invisible soap residue on a wine glass can change the taste and aroma of wine. Oh, I would believe that. That's true. I mean, although with the beer world tends to be more fanatic about getting their glasses clean from soap residue, because soap residue messes with the fuzzy head of wine, or sorry, of beer, the wonderful bubbles you get. But clean glassware is clean glassware. You should always have it, and I would definitely say that it can mess with the aroma. This is true. Cleaning with hot water and no soap, diluted soap, and extra rinsing, or washing with soda is recommended. Yeah, usually when I clean mine, they tend to get rather spotty. I use a very dilute soap solution, but then I do a lot of rinsing and then a microfiber cloth rub to basically get anything else off of there before drying. So that's my lesson to you. If you do your hand washing, if you wash in the dishwasher, a lot of dishwashers use those watershed chemicals. Those may or may not affect your wine, so be advised you may want to do all your wine by hand. So, all right. So we got that one correct. So we're 3 for 4 so far. And last but not least, what taste was in the title of a wine-titled song by Bon Jovi from the 1996 album These Days. What wine taste? No, what taste was in the wine title of the wine-titled song? Ooh. Just goes to show you how much I'm not quite really. I didn't even know that was a Bon Jovi album These Days. Let's go ahead and say berries, because that's a weird one. Bitter. The song was called Bitter Wine. So go ahead and blame my knowledge of Bon Jovi on that one rather than my knowledge of wine. All right, but 3 for 5, not bad. Not a bad day overall. But do you guys have any other suggestions for cool wine quiz and trivia questions? Don't hesitate to shoot them to me in the comments of the show. Last but not least, let's get into the grocery store grab. So, if this is your first time, or even if you're a returning visitor, the grocery store grab's intent is to get the best value per dollar for wines bought at non-big box retailers or specialty retailers. If you don't have a fancy cool wine shop, or you don't have a big box liquor store to shop at that has hundreds of bottles of wine, if out of convenience or necessity you shop at the grocery store, you're likely to have a more limited selection of wine and unlikely to have good help available to help you pick out wine. So we focus on label-focused wine selection. So we want to know we want to know and reward wines that tell us what's in the bottle on the label. There's plenty of opportunity to do this. It's not just all about lifestyle marketing, and we want to know. I don't choose these beforehand. We want to know what's in the bottle. If it's a blend, what variety of grapes are used. We want to know where the grapes are grown. The more specific, the better. We want to know what the wine tastes like using common flavor words that everybody can understand. And if they're really feeling frisky, they can do things like food pairings for us, especially specific food pairings are always a kindness on a good wine bottle. So this week's selection is the Campo Viejo, the Red Blend. Switch over here to that. It's a bright, wonderful purple little number here that first off caught my eyeballs. Now, I've had Campo Viejo before. It's a Spanish wine. Literally the name in Spanish meaning the old camp, the old town. So this is a product of Spain that is widely available at grocery stores. Okay, so you'll see on here it says the Red Blend. Now mine, of course, has a year on it. It says 2020. A smooth and vibrant blend, it says on the front of the label. And then they also say, basically it says in Spanish that it was bottled at the Bodega Campo Viejo in San Sebastian, Esparra. Okay, not a DOC level wine. Ooh, something I didn't notice on the back before. So on the back label of the wine, however, there's got a lot of cool information here. This is a nice little modern wine label. Number one, Campo Viejo has a few things. It's got a brief little marketing blurb. It's got a scale of intensity, complexity, and fruity. And it's got a 5-point scale of each, basically at 5 dots. Okay, so this is a 4 out of 5 in intensity, a 3 out of 5 in complexity, 4 out of 5 in fruitiness. So it's using words that intensity, complexity, and fruitiness, even if you don't know wine, you should at least have a baseline idea of what those words mean. Then there's even a tasting notes section below it. So I'm just going to go ahead and read from the top here. So we've got Campo Viejo. Together we drew on our strengths. Irene's scientific mind, Elena's modern approach to winemaking, and my experience and passion for intense and elegant flavors. We have created a truly unique blend that we're all proud of. Perfectly smooth, rich, elegant, and vibrant in flavor, a wine made by us for you to enjoy. Salud. Okay, that's the marketing thing. Then there's the intensity complexity thing, but then there's a line that break. There's a QR code that says scan to discover more. We're about to do that here in a minute. And then there's a tasting section, and it says hints of blackberry, cherry, plum, and fresh spice. Round in the mouth, yet fresh and appetizing. Bold but vibrant, with a beautiful color and elegant intensity. Serve at 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That right there is A+ labeling, if you ask me. It's got common words for common people. It's got a little bit of wine language for others. It's for folks that are into wine. Now let's find out what's on their little QR code here, though. See if I can't zoom in on this and make this work for me. There it goes. Okay, got a URL. Well, I'm opening up the URL. It takes us to the Campo Viejo website and asks what my birthday is. because that's important. So let's say 1/1/1921. We'll make it think that I'm, going on 100, over 100 years old. And basically, it's just a link to their website. It's not at least linking directly to this wine, which is unfortunate. That, I believe, is a missed opportunity. For instance, if they went directly to the Red Blend, I'm scrolling, pardon my delay here. There's also the Winemaker's Blend, although this looks... They call it Winemaker's Blend on their website. It's called the Red Blend here on the American label, but it's both the same purple label. So I'm thinking these are about the same. But here they've got tasting notes on the aroma and palate, and then they've also got food matches. Although these are kind of broad. Beef, pasta, chicken, salmon, all kinds of cheeses, as well as vegetarian options such as shakshuka. Shakshuka? Not familiar with shakshuka, pardon me. Although shakshuka is specific, everything else is pretty damn broad. What do you mean with beef? What? We talking about teriyaki beef, Mongolian beef? We talking about a cow? We talking about a cheeseburger? Pasta. Pasta is not a food. It's a thing that goes with food. It's part of food. So they lose a little point on their food matching here because they're not quite specific enough. But their aroma palette stuff is great. On the nose, the wine has rich notes of red fruit, cherry, strawberry, plum, blueberry, as well as soft toasted notes that give the wine depth and complexity. On the palate, we find perfumed wine, smooth, fresh, and full of vivid red fruit flavors with a long finish of toasted notes. Okay, still a little wishy-washy on some of them there, but still, these are good examples. Now let's find out, by the way, whether it lives up to its name. Okay. Now the one thing that it doesn't say, of course, the one thing where I gotta say with the A plus labeling, I've got to dock off points and put it at least to an A- because they don't tell me what's in the bottle. If I like this wine, how am I supposed to know how to get more of it that's maybe similar to it, but not exactly this? Now it's Spain and from Esparra, so we got to wonder about that. I have to ask my friend Matt, who's studying for his Spanish wine scholar, find out what particular grapes are grown there. But I'm guessing this is either a Tempranillo, Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre blend is what I'm betting. But look at this big, dark, intense purple color. The label is well chosen. It is very purpley in tone. That's an official word, by the way, purpley. On the nose, comes off with those red fruit flavors. I definitely get that plum. And the rotundones are there. That thing about spice that they mentioned, boy, oh boy. Nice little hint of white pepper, cracked pepper, and maybe even a little bit of like allspice or cardamom, right? Kind of exciting. That's really interesting as opposed to, and well chosen. This, again, was chosen for its labeling, not because it didn't match today's theme particularly, but I've got high hopes. Yeah, nice. Got that little hint of spice in there, a little leatheriness. And again, I'm thinking, because this is a 2020 wine, this is brand new wine, all right, as far as red wines are concerned. This isn't about age. This is just about the way that they've chosen that fruit is very much to focus on those particular aroma compounds in their construction process. So good on them. Okay. Big intense red fruit. Little hint of acidity still left in here. It's not. It doesn't have that soft malolactic acid profile. It's actually a little brighter than I would have expected on the nose, and of course, I think because we've mentally been talking about this, I wanted something that was a little on that softer palate. But it's bright. The tannins are medium plus. It grabs your tongue, but it definitely delivers that bright red fruit flavor. This is really kind of interesting. I'm more surprised with the color of this wine and the aroma intensity. I was expecting something a little bit softer, a little bit more intense, a little more broody. This is very, this is bright, wide, open, red fruit. This is pomegranate juice, not grenadine, for instance. And the spice flavors don't really carry over much onto the palate. Mostly what I get is dark red fruit. I get plums, pomegranate, Not a ton of, there's a little hint of sour cherry in the middle. Yeah, right there. And then the middle of the mid palate represents the sour cherry. Not much lingering on the end of it. And the tannins are, like I said, are medium, but they're restrained with that acidity and balanced out with fruit. This is an interesting little wine, and very different than the competing red blend categories coming out of California. While I really like what's going on in California with the non-Bordeaux style and non-Rhone style blends, they do tend to be bigger, jammier, softer. They fit that fall category pretty well. This literally kind of goes the opposite way. This has got that brightness of bright dark red fruits. That doesn't sound right. Just it has dark red fruits. Can't call them bright, but it's acidic dark red fruits. How about that? Tangy. So kind of fun, kind of tasty. Definitely would buy again. By the way, runs about $14 with a whole dollar off with the grocery store discount. Meaning they are not what I would say punching above their weight. They're not trying they're not marketing incentive wise to price it at 20 then sell it at 13 if you have a card. They don't care whether you have a card. They're selling their wine at a very honest price. So I always think that's a good indicator for them. But yeah, for a $13 bottle of wine, this is really fun, rather different. And if only they'd tell me what the heck was in it, they would have my eternal love and gratitude. But answering our usual 3 questions, is it well executed? Yes, no flaws here. They have made a quality little wine. Is it on style? Tough to say when I don't know what's in it, but I got to say this, comparative to the red blend style, this says European red blend way more than it does New World. It very much stands out as that Spanish style, so bravo to them for that. And then lastly, is it worth the price tag? Oh yeah, 13 bucks, totally worth it. This is a fun little wine that I think you might even get you kicked off and more interested in trying out Spanish wines. So I definitely give this there. This is not one of the deep cuts out of the Spanish wine world, but it definitely is holding its own. And I would say it's meeting the right market by calling into that red blend category to get people to try it that might not normally reach out towards Spanish wines. So, all right, well, that's the grocery store grab for today. Any questions? Donna, do you just have something to say in greeting, or do you have a question for the crowd? Let me know before I log off. But events that are coming up, holiday party booking is online available. We've got some shows I'm going traveling for this weekend. We've got our holiday coming up, of course. With Thanksgiving, we'll be doing a show that week. I hopefully live from Weatherford. Now that YouTube will let me try streaming live, we're going to try that out. So you may see me on my phone instead of in front of the computer. And holiday party time. If you guys are looking to get a holiday party going, now is the time to get on the calendar before I run out of days. So I hope you guys will reach out and say something awesome. Angela Carter says, can you see the bottle? Yes, you may see the bottle again. Angela, since obviously late to class, there's Campo Viejo. All right. Looking kind of cool. Bright purple, easy to find. You should definitely check it out. So, although this is not going to go with my dinner tonight, I am making a chicken and wild mushroom fricassee for dinner. So, white wine theme for dinner. So, Donna says she's going to have to look for that one. I have Specs opening locally. Well, excellent. Specs will definitely serve you well. I got this, by the way, at Tom Thumb, though. So, I think if you got a reasonably stocked Tom Thumb, you might go ahead and check it out. And Angela's question about Weatherford, where? Weatherford being the western side of Fort Worth, out where you live. My mom lives out there. So that's where we will be for the holiday. So I'm thinking about Thanksgiving Wednesday rather than traveling on Wednesday. I want to already be out there. So maybe I'll use my phone and we'll be like, hey, look, it's me on the phone doing weird stuff on YouTube, which wasn't possible before. So hooray, thanks YouTube for letting that happen. But I hope you guys enjoyed today. Go get yourselves a bottle. If you like what you saw here tonight, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share with a wine-loving friend. If you really like what you see, you can support me by joining over on Patreon or scheduling your own show or coming to a live show. Believe it or not, YouTube content creation is not my job or specialty. This is just something fun that I do to help reach out and talk to some of my customers. But the reality is, shows in person are really where it's at. So if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, reach out to me. Or if maybe you want to go on a tour in California or Spain or France, we should go do that kind of thing. So, we should go to Chile. Yeah, that'd be it. Chile. Anyway, if you're in the mood for it, do those two. Until next time, I have been your wine shark. Cheers. Now I gotta go make fricassee. Which, by the way, I forgot my total bit of trivia for today. Your trivia for today, boysenberry. I had to look up. I've had boysenberries all my, boysenberry syrup all my life. A boysenberry is a cross between the European raspberry, the European blackberry, the American dewberry, and the loganberry. It is a real berry. It's just a hybrid. Now you know. Anyway, with that, cheers.